Hi, folks. Tim Conti here with Contact Center in the Cloud. At this point in your email, you should have the comparison report we promised. It was a labor of love, and the way that whole analysis or that comparison chart was created was we had a client of mine. I was a subject matter expert at CDW Corporation, contact center expert. I've also worked for Avaya and 8x8 and some of the other market leaders in the contact center space. While I was at CDW, we developed some proprietary tools and a process that I've since developed that helps executives in the contact center space migrate from on-premise contact centers to the cloud. And as part of this, we needed a way to not only provide the research up front to make your life easier and save you time, because that's the one thing we don't have enough of is time, but also to make the research customizable. Nothing against Gartner, the Magic Quadrant, or even our own research in the beginning that we provided you that you have in your email. It's kind of a static shot of the industry, and the industry is changing so fast overnight. There's new entrants and new players arriving daily. There's also some of the providers you see here on the screen that have been around for some time. But part of the process, after we provide the research that you have, the next step is to customize it to your situation, right? Because the research is great. It's a good starting point, gives you a lay of the land, you know who the providers are, and you have, I think, 27 different evaluation criteria. But the next step is to customize it. So normally what we do is we schedule a 30-minute Zoom call where we log into our proprietary software. I'm actually going to do an example for you right now so you see it. Imagine us meeting on the phone right now for the first time, and I'm getting to know you and your environment from a contact center's perspective. So here we go. First and foremost, the opportunity criteria on the left-hand side is going to be your requirements or your input or your data. So what I'm going to do is, if we're on the phone, obviously the solution is delivered over the cloud. The contact center is a cloud contact center, so it's delivered over the internet. So the provider's data centers and the proximity to your locations is important. But for all intents and purposes, let's say that you're in North America and Europe. From a voice options perspective, let's say your contact center requires some inbound voice, some outbound, and a queue callback, right? Those are just three examples. There's many more on here. The digital channels, let's say that you're interested in a provider that offers chat and email and fax support. For social channels, let's say that you're interested in Facebook and say LinkedIn. And for the cloud app integration, this is probably one of the more important ones. You know, the cloud contact center and integration with your CRM platform, whether it be Salesforce or Zendesk or Oracle or whatnot, is critical because you're tying in your customer data to the contact center. So we're going to choose Salesforce, but there's many other ones on here. And then from here, AI is hot right now. You probably, if you're in contact center, you've heard a ton about it, but there's something called Agent Assist that's really cool, as well as agent coaching and chatbot are some AI examples. So we'll choose those three for your requirements. And then lastly, compliance. Let's say that you're in healthcare, for instance, you can check HIPAA, but there's a whole bunch on here, PCI for retail and whatnot. But we'll just leave HIPAA for now. So, you know, in addition, some of our customers, especially our larger ones that we help migrate from legacy on-premise contact centers to a new cloud contact center, they did subscribe to the Gartner Magic Quadrant and we're interested in talking to the Gartner leaders. So I will check that box, but I'll caution you as well as there's some providers that you probably never have heard of unless you study the markets daily, ins and outs like we do. Some of the providers that are doing an amazing job for their customer and have great references, but they might not be as well known or they don't have the deep pockets that a Genesys or an InContact has to market themselves. But because they're doing a great job, we cover them and we want to include them. So we'll choose that as well. So we're done with your opportunity criteria. So again, we meet on a call, 30-minute session, I run through this with you, input your requirements, and check this out. I'm going to generate a matrix. And boom, what we've done here is provided you with, I call it a scorecard, but the vendor's ability to fulfill your requirements. So these are what we filled in on the left-hand side. This would be your environment. And then right away, we shortlisted the entire CCaaS market down to a manageable few, right? So obviously Genesys checked all your boxes. So we know we want to put them on the list unless you're aware of a poor experience or the reason why you don't want to include them. 8x8 did well. I don't necessarily see them in a pure play contact center solution, but they do offer it. But Five9's and Nice in Contact and TalkDesk are the big three. So I'll eliminate 8x8. And then we have got a really nice short list of vendors that we know are a good fit. The challenge is you have your requirements, you maybe download a white paper off a vendor website, and then one of their inside sales reps calls you, and then they try to schedule a call, and then the first 30 minutes is them telling you how great they are. And I call it the NASCAR slide, pictures of all their clients and logos and this and that. That's all fine and good. But before we even get to that stage, let's narrow down the providers that we know are a fit based on your requirements. That's what's critical here. So you see Genesys, Five9's, and Nice in Contact based on your variables, check the boxes. And then now as a next step, we can run this whole project for you. So if you want to hire us, we'll coordinate all the vendor meetings. We have preferred pricing, preferred relationships with all these providers. We'll take you through a 10-step process all the way from evaluation to the adoption of the service. But if you don't want to hire us, that's okay too. I'm still going to provide you the report for free. I'm going to make your life easier. That's my goal, is to make things simple and easy. None of this is because it's technology, but I want your first steps in this process to be simple and easy. I shared this with someone on a UC project, a UCaaS project, so a little different than the contact center. And what I ran through this, and he had his hands in his head, and he's like, where were you 6 months ago? He had already gone down the path and had a whole team dedicated to evaluating these vendors. And it's just no one has time for that right now. Nobody does. So at a minimum, it can save you 2 to 3 weeks or months worth of research. I'll send you schedule your free 30-minute Zoom call. There'll be a link at the end of this video. Schedule your call. It'll link to my calendar. And the 30 minutes, there's no charge for that. It's just our way of showing some value. And I'll give you the report at the end. So I'll PDF this up for you. And at a minimum, no matter what you decide to do going forward, kind of do it yourself or work with a trusted advisor like us, contact center in the cloud. Either way, you're going to save a ton of time. So I appreciate you listening today. The video actually went a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, and I appreciate you hanging in there. Like I said, click the link at the end of this video. It'll link to my calendar, schedule a free 30-minute call. We can talk about anything you want. It doesn't have to just be your variables or your requirements. We could just talk about the industry, the market, who's doing what. If you want to talk price points, we can do that high level as well. You name it. Like I mentioned, I was at CDW Corporation for 2 years, a $20 billion VAR, big with Microsoft and Cisco, but I was in a kind of a niche group that purely did contact center as a service. That's all we did. I helped hundreds of customers like you migrate from on-premise contact centers to the cloud. There's a lot of pitfalls in this journey, and my goal is to help you avoid them. So appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Click the link, schedule your call. We'll talk to you soon.